Jesus. Okay, the Moabites were not in charge, the Nabateans were. The Nabateans actually finished their rule in this part of the world in 106 AD, and the Caesar who got rid of them was a guy called Trajan. Now, most of the Caesars from Rome were really not very nice people. They poisoned each other, they killed each other, the Senate killed them. They were a bad lot. And it was all about power, and it was all about family. You know, the history of the Roman Empire, the rise and fall, it's fascinating reading. If you want to get into it, get into it. There's some wonderful videos that you can grab for not very much these days. Actually, most of them come from China. So, yes, there you go, with the big stamp, made in China. All the way from Masada. I love it. I love it. Believe it or not, most of the olive wood that's sold in the old city, guess where it comes from? China. Not the Judean mountains. My goodness me. You get very few places in Israel. In Bethlehem, you bet. It's from Israel. Yes. No, it's from Israel. Yes. They're very proud of the fact that their olive wood is from the Judean mountains and further afield in Israel. One story about when we first came up here with our archaeologists. And remember, that happened in the 50s. They came up here and they found all this stuff, especially in the storehouses. One find was super exciting. They found over 100,000 date pits. You know what a date is?
Yes.
In Hebrew, tamar.
Tamar. Yes.
Tamar.
Yes.
A lot of our women and girls in Israel are called Tamar, and we shorten that to Tammy. The land of milk and honey.
Yeah.
The honey.
Is the tamar.
Well, you know, people say that it's the juice from the date palm, which is one of the 7 species. I don't know. I like bees. I like bee honey. But maybe it was something that came from the date palm. We don't know. But we know that in the desert down there, for 40 years, the children of Israel ate manna, which was provided by God.
Yes.
We also know that they grumbled and mumbled, and so he provided a bit of meat. And we still have quails running around Israel. They're stupid things. They always run in front of cars, trying to show off to their friends, or something, I don't know, or betting with each other who can cross the road before they get squashed. But they're all over where I live up north, quails. But, you know, in Deuteronomy 8, verse 8, the Lord says, "You are when you come into the land of Israel, the promised land, I'm going to give you 7 species to eat. One of those 7 species is a date." And it became an emblem and a symbol of Israel. You've got wheat, barley, dates, figs, grapes, pomegranates.
Olive.
Thank you. Oh, I always forget one. Okay. So those are the. So what did they eat when they came into the land of Israel? They ate from Deuteronomy 8, verse 8.
Yes.
It's good for us to remember that. They ate from Deuteronomy 8, verse 8. And then you've got to be like me and try desperately to remember the 7 species. But a date was one of them. Anyway, when the Romans quelled the revolt, every time they did something like this, they would take captured slaves back to Rome. They would take products from that land back to Rome, and then the big commander of the legionnaires would ride a white horse up the Via Sacra in Rome, and all the adoring crowds would wave and cheer and call them heroes. And this, one of the things they did when they left, when they went and did that thing, they took date palms with them, because every single date palm in the land of Israel was uprooted. And so the date palm, the Judean date palm of old, a symbol of Israel from the Bible, became extinct until we found some date pits in Masada. And we put them into a special thing. We tried to germinate, and one germinated. And the scientists got there with their little scratcher and they put it under a microscope. They took the DNA, they drank a bottle of wine, and they had never come across a date palm like that. Its DNA was different to everything else. It was the Judean date palm. I think it's about 18 years old now, and it's growing on a kibbutz in the south called Kibbutz Ketuva. But it's a male. And dates need a female. You know, a man without a woman is like a ship without a sail. That sort of thing. And this fellow, we called him Methuselah because he's the oldest germinated seed in the world. So it's a good name for him. And we've taken his pollen. You know, he's very generous every year. He produces a lot of pollen. And we've got all the flowers from the females that are producing good fruit from Morocco, Iran, Iraq, all these countries. And he's producing whopping great juicy dates. But we want to find some pits that are Judean date palms. But it's really good to know that the Judean date palm is not dead. And of course, when a date palm grows, they will send out sort of truncated roots from the bottom. And that's how we propagate them. We wait till they're a bit this high and they're looking good coming out of it, and then we chop them off with roots and we plant them. You know all about that. You do that.
Yes.
We all do that. But that's an interesting story. So I'm going to walk you through the storehouses. We're going to go to the northern end, which is up here. We're going to bypass the Roman